We're going to start talking about hay and silage production. We'll start off with hay production, and start off with a few numbers and just to give you a perspective of the economic importance in United States agriculture and in California agriculture that hay and silage production has. Throughout this series of videos, we're going to define what hay, silage, and haylage are, talk about the process of harvesting and storing each one of them, and the potential losses and or problems that can come up during production of either hay or silage. Let's start with hay. The first thing we need to understand is what the definition of hay is. It is simply the top growth of forage that is cut and preserved for future use by drying. And we try to dry it to just under 20% moisture. And so while we want to dry it just enough to minimize the loss of dry matter, leaves, color, and nutrients. So that's the goal. Understanding that whenever we do harvest a forage crop, we are never going to have the identical quality that we had in the original product. So we do lose nutrients in some way. But our job in hay production is to try to get it dry as fast as we can and minimize the loss of dry matter, leaves where most of the nutrients are, the color, the nutrients that are found in that hay. If we take a look, this is from the 2012 census. We're getting ready to do another round of census data. And this is why that census data is important, is so that we can understand what's happening. And if you take a look at how many acres of hay production, including alfalfa, introduced forages, small grain like oat hay, wheat hay, and even just meadow hay or any of what they call the wild forms, as a percentage of the harvested cropland acreage in the U.S. And you'll see that up in the upper Midwest or the upper Northeast, down along the Appalachian Mountains, into the Texas Great Plains area, such as Missouri, Arkansas, eastern Oklahoma, eastern Texas. Then you start looking out into the arid West, and you will see a tremendous amount of hay production in the drier states, such as New Mexico, Arizona, western Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, Nevada. All of those acreages, it becomes significant economically for the hay producers in those regions. If we take a look at just alfalfa hay, which is probably the largest hay production in the United States, probably globally as well. And so when you take a look at the states that they're showing in terms of alfalfa percentage, the yellow numbers are indicating the percent each state contributed to the total national acreage of alfalfa hay. States that are not numbered contributed less than 1% to the national total. So when we look at this, South Dakota, the Dakotas, Nebraska, California, a lot of the states in the upper Midwest and western U.S. contribute tremendously to our alfalfa acreage in the United States. And so as we take a look at some of this, we need to understand that how these economies work. You'll notice that there's not a lot of alfalfa production in the southeastern United States. That's because the climate is not conducive to alfalfa. They will put up a lot of grass hays and other types of hay compared to the rest of the U.S. So why would we even do hay? What's the point? And the one thing about hay production is it can help you overcome specific quantity and quality limitations that a pasture, your fresh forage, may have during certain times of the year. For example, over winter, our pasture stops growing around November and doesn't kick up again until March. And so what are we going to provide for dry matter for our livestock during that winter time period? If we haven't stockpiled forage properly, we are going to have to use a harvested forage of some kind, and hay is the answer for that. The second is to sell it as a cash crop. That's what my family did, is we raised alfalfa hay, and we would sell it to dairies over in California. We also would sell it as small, get it cubed, and it would be shipped to Japan. We said sold to Japan for quite a few years. And so there is the cash crop potential of hay production. You're also mitigating some risk by having a feed reserve. So if we have summer growth and our pasture gets ahead of our livestock, could we harvest some of that acreage and put that away to save for literally a rainy day or something that we need some dry matter? It's actually a more efficient use of a resource in surplus during one time of the year and deficient in another. And that's one of the beauties of having some flexibility if you can put up hay, is that it does provide that risk management, that efficiency of resource use. The other challenge, though, is why not let the animals do the harvesting as well? And so there's sometimes weighing out the pros and cons of any system. We're going to wrap up this first video here, and then we're going to start getting into the actual production of hay and the different pieces of equipment that are used and how hay production works.